We are one race down already for Formula 1 2019. Jesus, it's going far too quick this season. Round 2, we head back to Bahrain. A brilliant race last season, one of the best of the season. I feel criminally underrated. Valtteri Bottas was really putting a fight on Sebastian Vettel in those late stages. Didn't quite go for the dive bomb, but now he's grown that beard, that Thor Ragnarok beard. Can he repeat his incredible win last time out in Australia? Do it again in Bahrain? Can he do it? That is going to be the big question. Can he have his redemption day from last season in Bahrain? As always, on screen you're seeing my awful driving on the F1 2018 game, just to give you a little idea of what the circuit looks like. And yes, that is a Red Bull from last year, so Red Bull Renault, that is right there. But last time as well, Honda, that are now partnered with Red Bull for this season, got their first podium in the V6 era. Max Verstappen driving an incredible race once again. He's really starting to look like he might be in the mix this season. And of course, it's only been one race, so that statement is very vague, as are all things we can take away from Melbourne. But probably the biggest thing we took away from Melbourne is what has happened to Ferrari. Obviously, over the winter, everyone was saying that they were going to be the team to beat. And when we went into Melbourne, people thought they were just going to run away with it, to be totally honest with you. But really, that was not the case whatsoever. A Mercedes 1-2, Bottas with that incredible race victory. Also got the fastest lap. And Will Buxton loves to throw around this statistic, but he now has the greatest lead in points at the start of the season after one round in history. So it's the biggest gap any driver's had at the top of the championship after round 1 ever. And that is because he had the race win and the fastest lap point, which has been added for this season. Hamilton was P2. A difficult race for Lewis Hamilton after picking up damage on just lap 4, and we think that was due to debris caused by a little incident at the back between the Williams cars. Robert Kubica dropping his front wing, so did Daniel Ricciardo. He lost his wing very early on as well, and that debris seems to have hurt Lewis Hamilton's back left part of his floor on the car. They've done plenty of analysis videos on YouTube, have Mercedes, so if you're intrigued about that, you can go and check that out after this video, please. That would be very kind of you. Also, Verstappen, as I quickly mentioned there, picking up 3rd place. Honda, they were chuffed. Red Bull were chuffed. Ferrari, though, 4th and 5th, using team orders, which I do question early on in the season. I did a separate video about that, if you're interested in that. I really do feel that it was not needed so early on. They had space behind as well. Well, the issue I have really is that they had a 20-second gap, well, more than a 20-second gap behind, and they didn't decide to pit Leclerc to go in and do the fastest lap, to go on new tyres, and just it was all a bit of a mess. I don't want to try, and I'm trying to keep this concise if I possibly can, but they come into this weekend very much on the back foot, but I expect them to turn things around pretty quickly. Formula 2 also starts this weekend, so expect coverage on this channel of Formula 2. I'll be discussing all what happened in the feature race tomorrow in my Formula 1 qualifying report. I know it's a little bit messy, but there is a beginner's guide out for Formula 2 on this channel. I did that this morning if you are interested. But the main meat and potatoes of our preview show, yes, we talk about some of the stories going into the races, but we like to look at practice. Now, Practice 2 is a little bit later on this afternoon, so I've only got Practice 1 details down for today. It's just a little bit how things are going to go this season. Sometimes we'll cover FP1 and FP2, sometimes we'll just cover FP1. Last time we covered both, this time we're just covering the one session. And as you can see on your screens, Ferrari 1 and 2, Mercedes 3 and 4, Red Bull 5 and 6, which is what we expected, to be honest with you, coming into Melbourne. Melbourne taught us, don't read into testing. We knew this. What I will say as well, don't read into practice. So just because it's a Ferrari 1-2 does not mean they're going to absolutely smack everybody around this weekend. Look, they very well could do. And I think they're going to have a quick car this weekend. And I'm guessing they're going to be able to, or have, fixed their problems from Melbourne. Going also down the timesheets, I mean, it's very straightforward, the top 6. But Carlos Sainz in P7, McLaren having a mixed bag of a weekend in Australia. A strong qualifying for Norris, up in Q3, 8th place. You mean, you got to take your hats off to that. People got triggered, apparently, that I was praising Lando Norris for getting a McLaren into Q3. I don't support Norris or McLaren, but it was just a really good job from him, and that's why I gave him driver of the day in qualifying. On the other hand, Sainz, a bit like Gasly, caught out in that almost strange sort of midfield. Because the midfield was so close, teams like McLaren, Red Bull, surprisingly enough, almost Raikkonen and Grosjean were out in Q1 just because they didn't expect times to tumble so quick and that midfield to be so close. So I don't expect people to make that mistake a second time round, but I think what that'll do is make Q1 even more exciting. So that's a big thumbs up from me, because sometimes, even me, a diehard fan, I find that a little bit boring of all the qualifying sessions. Hulkenberg in P8, he got in a bit of a scrap with Giovinazzi, those two smacking about with their tyres through the sort of S section of Sector 2. That is gone to the steward's room. I don't imagine there'll be any sort of penalty. I imagine it'll be a reprimand. But Giovinazzi throwing his hand up because he thought he was blocked and then sort of careered into the side of Hulkenberg. If you can go and check that out somewhere, I would highly recommend it because it is quite funny. But that's not the ideal start to the weekend. But 8th for Hulkenberg and 10th for Ricciardo. Looks like they're going to be able to fix their issues from Melbourne as well. Kvyat split the two Renaults in 9th place. Toro Rosso looking quite good this weekend, so keep an eye out for those two. Magnussen was the lead Haas in 11th place. Raikkonen in 12th. Alfa Romeo slipping back, it seems, a little bit. In Melbourne, they weren't actually as quick as a lot of people predicted, so I'm interested to see what they're going to be able to do in FP2 later on today and then qualifying tomorrow. Albon, I was thoroughly impressed with Alex Albon last time out. Went under the radar criminally, out-qualified Danny Kvyat, would have outraced him, except that Giovinazzi train. Yeah, really good job from Albon. So I'm expecting big things from him once again this weekend. Norris won this race, started from pole last year as well in Formula 2, that is. So I expect this is a circuit he's going to enjoy driving. So, I don't know. I think Sainz will have the edge this weekend. I think he'll swing that sort of qualifying battle back around. But Norris, keep an eye out, because that McLaren looking quite good. Giovinazzi 15th, Grosjean 16th. Oh, that pains me to see. He had damage to his front wing on one of his flying laps. Ran over the curb a little bit too much. That front wing decided, nah, I've had enough, and fell off the car. Unfortunately. Oh, well, it sort of half off the car. It was a bit of a bizarre incident, but Haas will be looking into that one. And then the bottom four cars, Perez down in 17th, then the two Williams cars, and Stroll dead last. I thought this would be a circuit that Racing Point would be quite good at. So far, not the greatest weekend. And maybe it gives Williams a little bit of hope. They're not at the bottom of the timings. I never thought I'd say that this season, but yes, Kubica and Russell were not in the bottom, well, the last time. It's so irrelevant, it doesn't make point. There's no point even bringing it up, but to be honest, it was, for them, a little bit of a confidence boost, but I expect tomorrow in qualifying that they will be at the very back. But, looking ahead to the weekend, last year this was a circuit that, again, as I mentioned earlier, was a really good race. But for teams like Toro Rosso, a complete outlier in the whole season. Pierre Gastly getting 4th place last year. That was an incredible job. That was one of the drives of the season from Gastly last year in Bahrain. So does this mean we expect Toro Rosso to be on the money this year? Even Brendan Hartley had quite a good race for Toro Rosso last year. Or does this mean that Pierre Gasly's going to be really racy, really feisty? I don't know. And it's going to be a really good indicator, this one, for how good that Honda engine is going to be in that Red Bull. Australia, we all know it's not a very representative track. It's quite a slow speed track in nature. So on a circuit like this, where we've got 3 DRS zones, which people won't like this, I'm not dead against, it's going to be really interesting for Honda. So, prediction time. My favourite thing to do is predictions. Last time, I got it pretty wrong. I guess Lewis Hamilton in 2nd, but Leclerc didn't win, and Grosjean was not on the podium. So, we're going to be a little bit more realistic this time. We've gone with a Ferrari 1-2. which again, people might say, oh, well, that you know, I'm just reading into practice there. But funnily enough, I made these predictions before practice started. So to see Ferrari topping the times, I thought to myself, oh, I'm maybe not that stupid, perhaps. But I've gone with a Vettel win, his first of the season. I think Leclerc, again, needs a few more races to embed himself within that team. So I've put him P2 and I've put Bottas P3. I think after that win, I think he's going to get better. I think that's the real confidence booster he needed. Hamilton had a difficult weekend here last year after a difficult qualifying. So, yeah, that's what I've gone with. But I'd love to know your predictions in the comments section below. Also, my league, my Formula 1 league, it's not too late to join. You'll see in a moment the details, and the details will be in the description as well. But this is how my team is looking like. And yes, I am in 247th place in my own league, which is pretty awful. But, I mean, you can look at my team. Grosjean, DNF'd. Ricciardo, DNF'd. Gastly had an awful start. And Giovinazzi, who's now out of the team for this weekend, he went backwards in the race, so also got minus points. So it was an awful start. I hope Ferrari were my team as well. So yeah, we review my league. So if you want to join, you can do. And those top of the charts at the end of each race weekend, I cover in my winners and losers video I do after the race. I'm going to do that on a Monday this week, I think. Bit of a chaotic week. Next week I'm not going to be here, so just thought I'd throw that one in. But George Russell I've brought into the squad. That's more of a tactical change rather than expecting Williams to be in the points. But that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this weekend. Formula 2, Formula 1. I hope you enjoy that as well. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.